What you're about to watch is not a motivational fantasy. It is not a highlight reel. It is a documented week-by-week account of what actually happens when an ordinary person, with an ordinary job, ordinary energy, and ordinary circumstances, attempts to follow the documented daily structure of people worth billions of dollars, including the parts that did not work, especially those parts. Before we go into what happened, let us establish exactly what the routine was. Because the billionaire routine is not a single thing. It is a composite of the behaviors that consistently appear across documented accounts of how ultra-high performers structure their days. 6 core elements, each backed by both biographical evidence and scientific research, each with a mechanism behind it that explains why billionaires do it and what ordinary people can reasonably expect when they try it themselves. By the end of this video, you will have the complete routine, the week-by-week results, the science behind what worked, the honest account of what didn't, and the modified version I still use today. That is the promise. And every part of it will be delivered before this video ends. The billionaire routine was not invented for this experiment. It was compiled from the most cited documented habits across biographical research on ultra-high performers. 6 elements appear consistently across different industries, different personalities, different decades, suggesting these are not individual quirks, but structural advantages that show up regardless of field. The composite billionaire routine. Sources and elements. The striking thing about this routine is what it does not include. No reactive email checking first thing in the morning, no social media scrolling before work, no multitasking during peak cognitive hours, no skipping exercise as a productivity trade-off. These are not accidental absences. They are deliberate architectural choices repeated across virtually every documented billionaire schedule, regardless of industry. The core principle. Billionaires do not have more hours than anyone else. They have a different relationship to the structure of those hours, deliberately protecting the highest value activities from low-value intrusions at every point in the day. That is the routine, 6 elements, all documented. Now, here is what actually happened when an ordinary person tried to live it, starting on day 1 with no preparation, no support staff, and no adjustment to his existing obligations. Week 1 was, to be completely honest, a near disaster. Not because the routine was impossible, but because attempting to adopt 6 simultaneous behavior changes with no transition period is something that even the research on habit formation consistently warns against. And that I ignored entirely. But here is what happened in week 1 that I did not expect. Despite the incomplete adherence, something structural was beginning to shift, not in productivity, that was still chaotic, in decision sequencing. On the 3 days I managed to protect the first 60 minutes from phone and email, the quality of my first conscious decision of the day was measurably different from the days I checked my phone first. I could feel the difference. I could not yet explain it. Week 1, days 1 to 7. The brutal reality, what happened, failed to complete the full routine on 5 out of 7 days. Exercise average 22 minutes instead of 45. Deep work block interrupted daily. Sleep deficit building from early wake times without earlier bedtimes. Most surprising, the 3 days with protected mornings produced better first decisions, even when everything else failed. This was week 1's only consistent signal. The lesson. You cannot install a billionaire's routine on top of ordinary habits without first restructuring the evening before it. The routine starts the night before. Week 1 was messy, honest, and it contained one data point that made me decide to continue. That single signal, better decisions on protected morning days, was worth investigating further. Week 2 is where it started to get genuinely interesting. Week 2 began with a crucial insight that the biographies and interviews consistently mention, but that self-help content rarely emphasizes. Every billionaire whose routine I had studied adapted their schedule constantly. Warren Buffett's routine at 30 was not the same as his routine at 60. Tim Cook adjusts his wake time seasonally. Ray Dalio's schedule has evolved dramatically over decades. The routine is not a fixed template. It is a set of structural principles applied flexibly to changing circumstances. The Week 2 adjustment moved wake time from 4:30 a.m. to 5:15 a.m., 45 minutes more sleep. Moved bedtime from 11 p.m. to 10 p.m., creating genuine sleep architecture instead of sleep deprivation. Reduced exercise to 30 minutes, but made it non-negotiable. Extended deep work block to a consistent 90 minutes by protecting it in the calendar as an immovable appointment. The most significant finding of Week 2 was not about productivity. It was about cognitive tone, the quality of thinking in the first 2 hours of the day. On days with the protected morning and physical exercise, the deep work block that followed produced output I could actually use. On days without one or both of those elements, the deep work block felt like I was thinking through fog. Same hours, same desk, completely different cognitive quality. What happened? Modified the routine to fit real constraints. Adherence jumped from 43% to 86%. Sleep quality improved measurably after moving the bedtime earlier. First week of consistently completing all 6 elements on most days. Most surprising, the morning elements acted as cognitive multipliers for everything that followed. Skipping exercise or the phone-free window degraded deep work quality more than anything else in the schedule. The lesson: the billionaire routine is not a single fixed schedule. It is a set of structural principles, and the adaptation of those principles to your actual life is part of the practice, not a deviation from it. Week 2 found the structural principles underneath the surface-level schedule. Week 3 is where something unexpected started happening. And it was not what the biographies or the research predicted. By day 18, something I had not anticipated and had not seen emphasized in the biographical sources began to emerge. The routine was not just changing my mornings, it was changing my relationship to time more broadly. Having a clear structure to the first 2 hours of the day, protected, sequential, purposeful, created a psychological effect that extended far beyond those 2 hours. I began to feel less reactive throughout the entire day. The neuroscience of what was happening. Establishing a consistent morning protocol activates what psychologists call implementation intentions. Specific situational cues, the alarm, the exercise, the quiet work window, that trigger planned behaviors automatically, reducing the cognitive load of decision-making throughout the day. Gallwitzer, 1999, Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. The most surprising finding of Week 3 was the learning block. I had expected the 30 to 60 minutes of daily deliberate reading to feel productive but unremarkable. What I did not expect was how quickly it began to compound. By day 21, I had finished 2 books, started applying specific ideas from them to my work, and noticed that my ability to make connections between different domains of knowledge had measurably improved. This is exactly what the biographical research on billionaires describes, but I dismissed it as survivorship bias. It was not. Week 3, days 15 to 21, the unexpected shift. What happened? Routine became semi-automatic by day 18. Deep work output quality peaked in week 3, noticeably higher than any previous week. Learning block began producing compounding insights rather than isolated information. Most surprising, the routine did not just improve mornings, it changed the cognitive quality of the entire day. And the learning block compounded faster than expected, 2 books in 14 days, with measurable application. The lesson: a consistent morning structure does not just optimize the morning, it changes the psychological architecture of the entire day by establishing a default mode of intentionality rather than reactivity. Week 3 found something the biographies mention but do not fully explain: the compounding of intentional structure across an entire day. Week 4 is the honest reckoning: what held up under real pressure, what collapsed, and what the data actually showed. Week 4 was the stress test, not by design. Life simply arrived on schedule. And what I found in week 4 was that the value of the routine was not in its perfect execution, it was in its minimum viable version, the compressed form that preserved the structural essence even under genuine pressure. The minimum viable routine discovered week 4. Exercise, 20 minutes minimum, not 45. Phone-free window, 15 minutes minimum, not 60. Deep work block, 45 minutes minimum, not 90. Learning, 20 minutes minimum, not 60. Journal, 3 minutes minimum. 5 elements, compressed but preserved. On hard days, this is what prevented a full reset. The honest reckoning of day 30 is this: I did not become a billionaire. I did not unlock some secret level of human performance that changed my life beyond recognition. But I did find a documented, repeatable morning architecture that produced measurably better cognitive output, better decisions, more deliberate use of my time, and, by far the biggest surprise, a compounding learning habit that I had never successfully maintained before in my life. Week 4. Days 22 to 30. The honest reckoning: what happened. Disruption on day 24 tested the routine under real pressure. Minimum viable version held. Full routine completed on 5 of 7 days. Learning block maintained without exception through the crisis week. Most surprising, the routine's value was not in perfect execution. It was in having a minimum viable version that preserved the structure even on hard days. This alone changed everything about how disruption affected the week. The lesson: a routine is not worth following if it only works on easy days. The minimum viable version, compressed but structurally intact, is what makes a routine durable rather than aspirational. Week 4 showed the real value of the routine, not in perfect days, but in the minimum viable version that survives hard ones. Now here are the complete, honest results. Every metric, day 1 versus day 30, no embellishment. The 30-day results. Day 1 versus day 30. These are not extraordinary numbers, they are honest ones. A person who reads 0.3 books a month, reading 2 books in 30 days, is not a billionaire outcome, but it is a 6 times improvement, consistently maintained, that compounds over months and years into a genuinely different knowledge base. The deep work doubling is the number I am most confident in because it was the most carefully measured and the most directly attributable to a single element of the routine. The results are honest and documentable, but the most important output of this 30-day experiment is not in the metrics table. It is in what I decided to keep, what I decided to drop, and what the modified version looks like that I still use today. The honest verdict: kept versus dropped. The most important thing I dropped was the 4:30 a.m. wake time. Not because early rising is wrong, the evidence for its benefits is real, but because early rising without earlier sleep is simply sleep deprivation with a productivity narrative attached. The billionaires who wake at 4:30 a.m. are also, without exception in the documented sources, asleep by 9 or 10 p.m. That full architectural shift takes months to implement, not 30 days. What I kept was the protected morning window, which starts at whatever time you wake up, not at a specific hour. The key insight: the billionaire routine is not primarily about the wake time. It is about the first 60 minutes of your day, regardless of what time they occur. The wake time matters only insofar as it determines how long you have before external obligations arrive. What I kept produced measurable results. What I dropped was either unsustainable without years of architectural preparation or produced no measurable benefit for someone at my stage. The promise now delivers completely. Here is the modified routine you can actually use. The modified billionaire routine, 30-day tested version. Element 1. First 60 minutes of day. The phone-free protected window. Why billionaires do it. Before any external input arrives, decisions are made from internal priorities rather than reactive demands. Peak cognitive clarity applied to your own agenda, not other people's. What I did. 0 screens for the first 60 minutes after waking. Use the window for one of strategic planning, financial review, or skill work directly tied to your primary goal. My 30-day result: first measurable impact within 3 days, full automaticity by day 18, single most impactful element of the entire routine. Element 2. Morning, physical exercise, 30 minutes. Minimum why billionaires do it. Exercise releases BDNF, the brain's growth hormone, and regulates cortisol, creates the neurochemical environment for peak cognitive function in the hours that follow. Every documented billionaire exercises daily without exception. What I did. Minimum 30 minutes of moderate to intense physical activity before the deep work block. Type matters less than consistency. Same time every day builds the automaticity. My 30-day result. Cognitive quality of deep work block measurably higher on exercise days. No exceptions recorded in 30-day experiment. Element 3. Morning, 90-minute deep work block. Why billionaires do it. Peak cognitive hours applied to the single highest value task. Billionaires consistently protect this window from meetings, email, and reactive demands, treating it as non-negotiable as a surgical procedure. What I did. Calendar protect a 90-minute block immediately after exercise, single task only, phone in another room, mark as unavailable to all external contacts. On hard days, minimum 45 minutes. My 30-day result. Output quality in this block exceeded all previous productivity in the 30-day experiment. Doubled measurable deep work hours. Element 4. Daily, evening, 30 to 60 minutes. Deliberate learning block: why billionaires do it. Knowledge compounds like capital, without requiring capital. Billionaires from Buffett to Gates document consistent daily reading as a non-negotiable. The compounding effect becomes measurable within weeks. What I did: 30 to 60 minutes of field-relevant reading, research, or structured skill development, physical book or long-form content preferred over fragmented digital articles. Take brief notes. Active learning, not passive consumption. My 30-day result: 2 books completed in 30 days. Compounding insights began appearing by day 14. Most underrated element of the routine. Element 5, nightly. 3-minute evening journal: why billionaires do it. Closes the cognitive loop of the day, directs hippocampal consolidation during sleep, creates a feedback mechanism that makes the routine self-improving rather than static. What I did: 3 minutes only. 3 questions. 1. One win from today. 2. One thing to adjust tomorrow. 3. The single most important thing I will do first tomorrow. Place journal beside tomorrow morning's workspace. My 30-day result: created natural end-of-day boundary, improved sleep onset, made morning planning automatic by preloading tomorrow's first action. Element 6, as needed, the minimum viable version: why billionaires do it. A routine that only works on easy days provides no structural advantage. The MVR preserves the essential architecture when life disrupts the ideal version, preventing full resets. What I did: hard days, 20 minutes exercise plus 15 minutes phone-free plus 45 minutes deep work plus 3 minutes journal. 4 elements, compressed, non-negotiable, even under pressure. My 30-day result: used on 6 of 30 days. On every one of those days, prevented a complete system reset. This element made the routine durable rather than aspirational. Total daily investment: approximately 150 to 180 minutes. Phone-free window 60 minutes, plus exercise 30 minutes, plus deep work 90 minutes, plus learning 30 to 60 minutes, plus journal 3 minutes. Minimum viable daily investment: approximately 83 minutes on hard days, enough to preserve the structure. The modified routine is the promise, fully delivered. Tested for 30 days on an ordinary person with ordinary constraints and documented honestly. Now here is the close. The thing nobody in the billionaire content space will say. Here is the thing nobody in billionaire content will say clearly. The routine did not make me think like a billionaire. It made me think more clearly than I did before I started. And that distinction is important, because the goal of studying and testing how ultra-high performers structure their time is not to become them. It is to extract the structural principles that produce better output and apply those principles to your actual life. The 30-day experiment taught me 3 things that no biography or interview had managed to communicate clearly. First, the routine starts the night before, not with the alarm. Second, the minimum viable version is not a failure mode. It is a most important part of the system. And third, the compounding effect of a daily learning habit is faster than the research suggests. It begins within 2 weeks, not months. You do not need a billionaire's resources to use a billionaire's structure. You need the principles, honestly tested. If you are going to try this, drop your start date in the comments. Come back in 30 days with your honest results. I read every single one. Subscribe if you want to go deeper every week. See you in the next video.